I do believe Walter Cronkite would have been very happy to know you all came out here for his 97th birthday party today. So thank you. But welcome and thank you for attending the dedication of the Walter Cronkite Memorial on the campus of Missouri Western State University. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jerry Pickman. I'm the Vice President for University Advancement and Executive Director of the Missouri Western Foundation. And this is a very exciting day, not only for Missouri Western and not only for St. Joseph, but for Walter's family and for all of those across our great state, across our great nation, whose lives have been touched by this amazing man and journalistic icon. I'd like to take a brief moment to recognize some special guests we have in attendance today. First, we are honored to have Missouri Governor Jay Nixon with us. Seated next to him is our First Lady, George Ann Nixon. And it's certainly a pleasure to have both of you with us today. So we're also pleased to have Tom Salisbury with us from U.S. Senator Roy Blunt's office, along with Greg Razor from Senator Claire McCaskill's office today. As well as several distinguished elected officials which are with us. And if you just hold your applause until I recognize each one of them. State Representative Pat Conway. State Representative Dallas Johnson was unable to make it, but I understand his wife Tara is here, and we think we may have gotten the better end of that deal. Pretty sure. St. Joseph Mayor Bill Faulkner, Senator Rob Schaaf, I see in the back. City Council members Donna Jean Boyer and Byron Myers, and presiding Buchanan County Commissioner R.T. Turner. If you give them a round of applause. On such a special day in celebrating this memorial to Walter Cronkite, we are thrilled to have his daughter, Kathy Cronkite, with us this morning. As well as to my left, Kay Cronkite Barnes, who is Walter's cousin and will be the keynote speaker at our luncheon this afternoon. And we certainly want to recognize Kay's mother, Helen, who is here today in the front row. Helen, you're 101 years old, is that correct? Awesome. Now, I could pull an old trick from Dan Nickerson, my predecessor, and start naming everybody, but I would forget someone. So this next round I'm going to do, and maybe have a group. So we have several members of Missouri Western's Board of Governors, our Foundation Board, the Alumni Board, our Ambassadors Board, our Gold Coat Board, and the President's Cabinet. So thank you all for being here today. And it is now my pleasure to introduce the president of Missouri Western State University, Dr. Robert Vardabedian. Dr. Vardabedian has been president of Missouri Western since 2008, and during his tenure, Missouri Western has continued to flourish. Many of our academic and athletic achievements can be traced back to his leadership and love for higher education and our students. And it was his vision to have the Walter Cronkite Memorial on our campus. Please join me in welcoming President Dr. Robert Vardabedian.
Thank you very much, Jerry. What a tremendous crowd here today, a fitting crowd for a memorial to Walter Cronkite. This is a very exciting day on our campus, a very historic day on our campus. As I've said several times before, the Walter Cronkite Memorial is perhaps the most rewarding project that I've had in my 35-year career, and so this is the culmination of that project. We often say it is a labor of love. To memorialize someone of his character and someone of his competence is, in fact, a labor of love. We're very proud that he was born here in 1916, 97 years ago to the day, in 1916. He had a remarkable life, and he had an illustrious career in both print and broadcast journalism. And of course, he's most widely known as the anchor of the evening CBS News, a post which he held from 1962 to 1981. In fact, one of our exhibits you may have seen as you entered the building is a tribute to that reign as the anchor of CBS News, Evening News. It highlights 39 major events of that time period, 1962 to 1981. If you haven't seen it yet, I think you'll enjoy it, as well as the other 8 exhibits in this memorial. For those of you who remember him, vividly recall his rich voice and his incredibly sincere presence, he will always be to us the most trusted man in America. This memorial is a tribute to our beloved native son. Finally, and this is a broader implication of this memorial, it is our hope that his legacy of journalistic integrity will in fact live on. I would like to give my sincere thanks to a group that's been working like crazy. Probably the very sight of me makes them ill, and that I've been pushing them to meet this deadline of doing it on Walter's 97th birthday. That is the Walter Cronkite Memorial Committee, very ably chaired by Vice President Jerry Pickman. Thank you very, very much for all the work you've done. As you can imagine, an undertaking of this kind took countless hours, evenings, weekends. They probably hardly know their family at this point, but hopefully they'll get reacquainted after today's dedication. They have created what I believe to be, and I hope you agree with me, a much-deserved memorial to our beloved native son, Mr. Cronkite. Well, now it's my pleasure to introduce Governor Jeremiah J. Nixon. And I oftentimes refer to Governor Nixon as the hardest working man in Missouri. I don't know of anybody who works harder than Governor Nixon. He has worked tirelessly to make government more efficient, more effective, more responsive to the needs of Missourians and Missourians' families. He's committed to attracting jobs, and he's committed to the future of Missouri. He's also committed to investing in our schools, which of course is an academic institution we greatly appreciate, ensuring that a college education is an affordable option for all Missouri families. And as an open admission university, that's especially important to us here at Missouri Western. Governor Nixon understands a number of things, that in order to have a strong economy, you must also have strong schools. Here at Missouri Western, we greatly appreciate his leadership. He's been a tremendous leader for higher education, for the university, and the community and the state as a whole. On behalf of this institution and this region and this state, thank you, Governor Nixon, for all that you've done for us, and thank you very much for joining us on this historic occasion. Governor J. Nixon.
Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Vartabedian, and the entire team here at Mo Western. Also the David and Shirley Bradley Endowment, and everyone who helped make this birthday so timely. It is always a pleasure to be in St. Joe with the Griffins here, where this outstanding institution has done much to strengthen this community and prepare the next generation of great Missouri leaders. It's hard to believe that it was over a half century ago that we would gather around our television sets in DeSoto to watch Walter Cronkite cover the launch of Mercury space capsules, built just 60 miles north in St. Louis. It made us feel riveted, inspired, but much more important than that, connected to our fellow Americans in a way that only truly historic events can. Looking back from what would have been his 97th birthday, the breadth of Cronkite's achievements are staggering. Cronkite got his start in the journalism business as a young age, hauling copies of the Kansas City Star to sell on the corner of 47th and Troost in the 1920s. He lived through the Great Depression, covered World War II as an embedded reporter, and was even dropped behind enemy lines in the Netherlands in a glider with the 101st Airborne Division. He traveled the world, but always considered this region his home. He became not only the most trusted man in America, but an outspoken defender of the freedom of the press. In a speech right here in St. Joseph in 1969, Cronkite said, "Right to the people to know is basic to our democracy. tenacious in his pursuit of a story, Cronkite felt deeply that the Fourth Estate's solemn obligation to report the facts and inform the public. And you know, that is exactly what he did. From the assassinations of John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King to Apollo 11 landing and the Iranian hostage crisis, he covered them all in real time, calmly, reassuredly, and accurately. No spin or commentary, no talking heads screaming at each other across split screens, just the facts. In his understanding of the importance of an informed and educated citizenry to the health of our united democracy, Cronkite shared the high calling of our colleges and universities just like this one. It's an idea that dates back to our nation's very founding. Like Thomas Jefferson 200 years before him, Cronkite was driven by the idea that there is no more effective check on the abuse of power, on government malfeasance and tyranny, than knowledge. Knowledge in a democracy that can be used for action. As Missourians, we have always been proud of this towering figure and him being one of our own. And I would argue that it's no accident that he reflected us each day he came in front of the world. To his integrity and intellect, Cronkite brought an ability to connect with people, and in so doing, offered a voice that was uniquely Missourian. Here in Missouri, we have a great hope and optimism for the future while staying grounded in the realities of our times. We're warm, but inherently skeptical. It's a distinctive combination that's too often missing these days in the media, and certainly among elected officials throughout our great country. No one personified these Missouri traits better than Walter Cronkite. Above all, during some very divisive times. Look at these pictures. Look at those times. Remember back the turbulence of the time in which his responsibility was to communicate to millions here and around the world tragedy, hostility, death, war, passion. And during these very divisive times, Walter Cronkite, in his role, brought people together. Talking about Walter Cronkite, it's easy to get nostalgic about how things used to be in the good old days, before the 24-hour news cycle, before Twitter and Facebook and blogs. But today is just as much about looking forward to the future as it is memorializing the past. Walter Cronkite's legacy should serve as a call to all of us to find our unique voice and make it heard, to speak truth to power, to use common sense for common good, and to refute those who say that you need to be shrill to be successful. I want to applaud Missouri Western and the Bradley family for spearheading this effort so that today's students, most of who were born years after Cronkite retired, and those who come after him, will continue to learn from and be inspired by the legacy of this great Missourian, now and for generations to come. May we all take from this ceremony a renewed application for the contributions and appreciation of the way that he applied his skills, the skills of this great man who gave himself to our state, our nation, and the world. And we should all recommit to upholding the values that he held dear. The right of every American to have knowledge, and responsibility of a free and flourishing press to provide that knowledge each and every day. On this day, we mark a great life, a life that made a real and lasting difference, but a life that we must use to make a real and lasting difference in our lives and the people around us. Thank you, and God bless.
Well, thank you, Governor, for your very inspirational words. And we know how busy you are in traveling across this state and elsewhere, and we're thankful that you were able to make time today to come and celebrate with us today. So thank you. This beautiful memorial would not have been possible without the generous support of the David and Shirley Bradley Endowment Fund, which was established at Missouri Western in 1988. Missouri Western is thankful to the Bradley family and for all they have done to show their support for the university throughout the past several years. Much like Walter Cronkite, the Bradley family is leaving a journalistic legacy of their own right here in St. Joe by bringing the important news of the day to the general public. And we are thankful to have Shirley Bradley with us today. She's traveled from her home in Florida to be with us. Shirley, would you please come to the podium and say a few words for us?
I'm anything but a public speaker, so this is going to be very short. I just want to thank everybody for for this wonderful exhibit. Missouri Western has always been very dear to my heart, and for them to accumulate such a wonderful memorial to Walter Cronkite is marvelous. And I'm very honored to be here, and thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shirley. Mayor Bill Faulkner was elected to his office on April 6th of 2010 and has been a leader and advocate for our city and for higher education. He is a second-generation business leader taking over his family's plumbing business, and we are grateful for the support he has given to Missouri Western and to our students. Mayor Faulkner, would you please come forward?
You know, it's a pleasure to be here to honor an individual that was born right here in St. Joseph, Missouri, and then later became an icon in his field. You know, I want to thank Dr. Vardabedian and Missouri Western State University for your hard work and dedication to making this memorial come to life. And isn't it nice to know that in the future, students, men and women of all ages, have a place to come and see the most trusted man in America report on some of the most historic events of our nation. And once again, hear his closing line, if you all share with me, and that's the way it is. Thank you.
I would now like to invite to the podium two faculty members at Missouri Western's Department of Art, Eric Fuson and David Harris. Their artistic talent can be found in each element of this magnificent memorial that you're enjoying today, and it was from their initial concept that the memorial grew and has become a permanent tribute to Walter Cronkite that we believe will be seen by thousands. In addition to the artistic work they completed for the memorial, they handled logistics, served as ambassadors to Walter's family, and devoted themselves completely to this project. Eric and David, please come forward and share your story.
Our involvement in this project began about a year ago. Eric and I were having lunch, and Dr. Vardabedian came up to us and said he was thinking about creating a memorial to Walter Cronkite. He thought perhaps it could include images of Walter at his desk, images of world and national events that happened while Walter was CBS anchor, things like the assassination of John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, the Beatles coming to America. Okay. Especially images of the space program. He asked us to work on ideas about this project, and he left us with the words, "Just think about it, no hurry, no pressure." Little did we know that we would be standing here today, just a year from that time, at the dedication of this memorial. Early on, Eric and I talked about what Walter meant, and it seemed to always center on what Americans felt about Walter. Almost nightly, Walter came into homes across the country via the television, which was a new media at the time, to deliver the news. So the iconic shape of that television with the rounded corners and rounded sides became very important to us. The way those television sets emitted light into the room. And historical photographs, those were the elements that became the building blocks for this memorial.
As we progressed and we had conversations with Kate and Chip, with Marlene Adler, his former chief of staff, the University of Texas staff, we found out more and more about his story, and it couldn't be encapsulated in one piece. So as we moved around and added more elements to this, one of the things we tried to do is add that element of unity and consistency that he was known for. Whether it was just that one line consistently going through all those events of his life, he seemed to be that steady element for all of us. As we worked through that, Jerry Pickman, Gordon Mapley, Corey Krieger, Ann Pierce, Jake Kelly, and Sarah Hunt, we all formed a team. And that team became anchored by Walter Cronkite once again to tell that story. It's been a wonderful thing. It's been a great project. We appreciate Dr. Vartabedian's allowing us to be a part of that. But just a note, Dr. Vartabedian, we will be not having lunch for a couple of weeks. Okay? Thank you.
Well, let me tell you, some of those team meetings were pretty fun. They were energetic and lots of humor. And I'll tell you, David's humor is a little bit sick. Eric is okay. Now, that really helped out a lot. I'm very, very, very thrilled and excited that Kathy Cronkite could be with us today. What would this be like without celebrating Walter's birthday in this memorial without one of his children here? So, Kathy, thank you so much. We're so grateful that your family has allowed us to work with you, and you've been so generous of your time and your willingness to let us take something very near and dear to your heart, your own father, and memorialize him in this way. Would you please come forward and share with us?
I was so hoping you'd ask. Oh, thank you. I can't, it would have been very hard for me not to have had an opportunity to tell you how, I see now, Eric's already seen me tear up a few times looking at all this, but how really wonderful this is. And to all of you, Dr. Vartabedian, the governor, Mayor Barnes, Jerry, everybody, but particularly, and of course, Ms. Bradley, it's so perfect to have a journalism family from St. Joe make this possible. And I'm very grateful. And to do it on a shoestring, relatively, but mostly, and David, Eric, your whole staff and team is brilliant. But Eric has been, to me, the keystone to the whole thing. And I want to tell you that never has anybody done any kind of tribute, memorial, article, anything around my father that has brought the family in and allowed us to have a voice and to be a partner in something that, as you noted, is so personal. And it is reflected in this exhibit that isn't just about him as a journalist, but captures the spirit of him as a man. I could go on from the typeface on up. It's just perfect. But it is his birthday, and he loved his birthday. He loved birthday parties. He loved getting presents. And, you know, what do you get the man that has everything? And he loved getting presents. And this is the best birthday party he could ever have had. That should be the great high note end of what I want to say. But the other thing that I want to say, when I was sitting here yesterday evening at the reception, and I had to write this down so I wouldn't forget, and I was looking at the podium, and I thought about Dad's connection with the university. And if you have any question, go watch that video when he's speaking here about Spiro Agnew. It's very powerful. But I was looking at the podium and realized how he and his life and his values tracked with the values of the university. And if you would just for a second think, instead of the university, of my dad, freedom, respect, courage, service, quality, and enthusiasm. That's my dad. Thank you.
If anyone brought a gift for Walter's birthday, you can leave it in my office down around the corner. That's a good thing. Well, it certainly has been a pleasure to get to know you and your family throughout this project. So thank you so much. Thank you again for joining us today. And in closing, the mayor took a little bit of this from me, but I couldn't resist. It's November 4th, 2013, and that's the way it is. So thank you.